All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show here on this Friday afternoon. We're going to delve into some topics here that may be a little bit deeper than just a basketball game, folks. And it's deep pockets that we're looking at. We're going to talk about the Rays baseball stadium deal. And joining me now is Tom Mullins, who is a retired Raymond James executive who has worked in this field for a long, long time, knows a lot more about these numbers and how they work and how the sausage is made than I do. So, Tom, it's so great to have you on. And thanks so much for doing this and kind of explaining it to us meatheads here in the sports industry on how this deal works. How you doing this morning?
Hey, pretty good, JP. Happy Friday.
Yeah, so your website, by the way, is nohomerun.com. I invite everybody to go check that out because it's a real deep dive into these numbers. But just on the surface, what is your take on this Rays-Hines deal and why it's not the best way to develop this particular acreage?
Okay. Let me start by saying one, kind of main message, which is I personally and our group, we have no interest in seeing the Rays leave the market. We're all baseball fans. We all go to multiple games a year. We all think it should be a civic priority for Tampa, St. Pete, the other communities in the area to keep the Rays in the market. So it's not any sort of anti-baseball or issue like that. So the main objections we have, and then let me say, among the people who are opposed to the Rays-Hines deal, they fall into kind of two camps. There's folks who actually would like to see baseball, stay in the downtown St. Pete area. Mm-hmm. They just think that the economics are wrong on this deal. That it's it's an enormous giveaway from the taxpayers to some people who who probably don't need the money as bad as the rest of us. So there's one group that again wants to keep baseball in downtown St. Pete, but just is arguing or is opposed to the terms that have been proposed for that. And then there's another group, and I'm in this group for sure. And JP, you may be in this group as well, based on some of our chats. Where we don't like the economics of the deal, but we really have issues with this deal more on more of a holistic basis. Like this is not the right location for baseball within the Tampa Bay market.
Correct.
This is not the optimal land use for the extraordinary 86 acres in the core of downtown St. Pete, and so that's the I'm in that camp. Yeah. And I was in that camp before I even heard what the proposed economic terms were in the term sheet that came out back in September and October of last year. And I, like everybody else, I was pretty shocked at the the size of the giveaway.
Yeah.
So I'd say that there's it's not really in your lead in here you said that there was some complexity and to the finances here and all that. I don't really think it's that complicated. There's kind of three main reasons to oppose the Rays-Hines deal. And the first has to do, and maybe not in the maybe these aren't in the order of importance, but the first has to do with this isn't the right solution, the redevelopment solution for downtown St. Pete. Downtown St. Pete, who would have thought 20 years ago that it would turn into this super hip, walkable, amazing neighborhood and all that. This is one of the, absolute hottest real estate markets in the whole United States today. Yeah. It's the place, everybody's moving to Florida and once they cross the state line, they either want to go to St. Pete or Tampa Bay or this is one of the top spaces. So there is no urban planning textbook in the world that tells you that the right thing to do with 22 acres in the core of a super hot real estate market is to put a baseball stadium there or any kind of stadium there. But, sports stadiums are relatively low intensity, low job creation, low value type of land use, and they require thousands and thousands of parking spaces, automobile parking spaces to be used.
This is wasted, a lot of wasted space.
Yeah. This isn't what you do with this, this 22 acres. It is so that's kind of.
And if I could just butt in here just a little bit, because I know I can hear my listeners out there and what they're saying. So that 22 acres, and we all agree we want to have baseball. It is, as you mentioned, it's a civic pride thing. I think it's a big part of why people live here, to have pro sports. But I say it just has to be done in the right way. And in this particular place for the city of St. Petersburg, they don't need a stadium. And I think this is your point about the real estate market. They don't need a stadium to make that area better. In fact, it's better if it doesn't have a stadium, because number one, from a financial standpoint, those 22 acres you could sell for how much? I think it's only $20 million an acre.
Land adjacent to the gas plant site today is trading hands at $20 million an acre.
The Rays get this basically for free. They don't pay any real estate taxes on it, which that would normally bring about $411 million. I think you said. So $411 million that would be coming into the coffers. St. Pete gets nothing on that for 30 years, and they get the wonderful enjoyment of paying $700+ million to help build the structure on there, which is not going to provide jobs or any tax money. That's a huge net loss, right?
Right. Yeah. No, that was a good summary. Like, the second reason to oppose this really is just the economics. I mean, it's an extraordinary giveaway, from people with relatively average income to people with fantastic wealth, and the components of that are simply you're taking the city is funding a portion of the construction cost, roughly $300 million. That $300 million they are going to borrow, because they don't have the money. They're going to borrow it. And to repay that debt plus the interest on it over time is about $700 million. It's an extraordinary amount of money for a city. Here's a little known trivia for you, JP. The entire all the property taxes paid by everyone, every business, every resident in the city of St. Pete is only about $200 million
per year.
Per year.
Yeah. And you're gonna pay out $700 million.
So this is a $700 million obligation they're taking on. Then you got and like you said, you're taking there's 22 acres of prime downtown. So for somewhere 30 to 40 years, you're not getting any property tax on that. If it was developed using an alternative use, you'd be getting property tax. That's a $400 million hit right there. And then the big giveaway is really the other 64 acres of the Trop site, which are being given to the Rays Hines organization for, by our math, at least $500 million under market. It's an enormous giveaway.
So they're buying it for $155 million. That's their discount.
Yeah.
And it normally would go on the market for $600+ million.
Yeah, the whole site we think is worth at least $700 million. We think it's pretty easy to do the math. I won't go to the methodology, but it's pretty easy to defend that number. And
why would they do why $155 million on that acreage? What is the Rays Hines Group giving the city that would justify such an incredible sweetheart deal? The fact that the Rays aren't leaving and they're building they're giving them $50 million for a museum.
That is the only thing I can think of is that you have some people in city government, and you also have a pretty strong fan base in St. Pete.
Yeah,
I
would argue that.
It's they're small, but they're loud and influential. And
I would agree with that. But you and about 25 other people are the only one. I don't even think you have season tickets. That St. Pete season ticket holder, I think you could have a small banquet in a 50-head room. And that's one of the big problems.
Yeah.
It's a failed location. And nothing against the city of St. Petersburg, but most of the people who live there don't support the team. And
No,
they live closest to the team.
Yeah, JP. No, that's the third reason. I mean, that there's the it's the wrong thing for the gas plant site. It's the terrible economic deal, and then the third thing, again, is really it's not the right solution for baseball. This is a plus 20-year experiment. The experiment's been run.
Yeah.
You know what the outcome was? The outcome was nobody. It's
hard to get to during the week.
Yeah,
it's just really hard to get to during the week. I know you can ride your bike, but most of us can't.
Right. And it's, what's the first rule in real estate? Location. You're think about this. You're putting the stadium at the southern, close to the southern tip of a peninsula surrounded on three sides by water.
Right.
And the only way to get on the peninsula is like through these chronically congested bridges. So, it's not.
So no, it's not the smartest idea in the world. No. Here we go.
And there's other locations. And the problem, I think part of the problem you've had in the process here is the Rays is as long as someone's dangling this enormously valuable, prize for them, all this acreage downtown, as long as that's actionable for the Rays, they're never going to have a serious negotiation with anybody at, Derby Lane or at
the Carillon site,
or the Carillon site or the old Airco golf course, or or anybody in Tampa. You could put this thing.
Yeah,
you could put it next to the Buck Stadium and share that parking resource. If it was Asia, they'd landfill. They'd landfill a few acres in the middle of the bay, and they'd put it in the middle of the bay.
That'd be
and
nice.
I'm serious. That's how.
Yeah, that's what they do. Yeah, no, that's what they do.
A lot of the airports in Asia are built on landfill, and then anyway, it's so there's alternatives, but if you've got if you're the Rays and you've got a chance to get this enormous financial prize, you're not going to. You're not going to have conversations like that and go around telling people that, there's two other alternatives. They want people to think that this is the only chance. Yeah, this is the last chance.
And Tom, with this deal being so bad for the city, I mean, this is a problem because we don't know where things are going politically in this country. The economy could really, really tank. I mean, there are a lot of people in your business that are forecasting this, correct? So if you get into a deal like this and, the projections all change, right? Projections all change. You could be sitting here, the city of St. Pete and Pinellas could be sitting here with this enormous white elephant, and you can't turn back. Half the stadium's done. I mean, am I wrong? I don't want to be, crazy about this, but this is you get into an agreement like this. It's so long term and things change quickly. This could be a disaster for the city and county.
Exactly. No, JP, you're segueing to two important points on this. First is if you do this deal with the Rays Hines, you're basically locked in to them for 40 years. It's a 30-year deal with two 5-year extensions for the Rays Hines. So it's and that means that for this enormous chunk of downtown in one of the hottest real estate markets on the east, on the East Coast, you can't, if you're the government, even if you're the mayor or future mayor, you can't make a move without the cooperation of the Rays Hines. So people aren't giving enough weight to this element of the deal, is that if you go the other way, like we want to go, which is just, develop it kind of parcel by parcel with, independent guys, the same way most of St. Pete got developed.
Yeah.
Then as time passes, if, the city's objectives, change, the city has control of that.
Very nimble.
Control.
You can be very nimble. You can move and adjust with what's happening in the economics. What happens culturally. 3 or 4 years, we may say, pickleball things aren't great anymore. So this is what's really big now is volleyball or whatever it is, or a convention center. Maybe they want to build a convention center, which would obviously be much more profitable and put more heads in beds create way more jobs, et cetera, et cetera. So and all of these other projects, money's coming in, like big money's coming in. Big money ain't going out. And as I famously refer to this because I was in Atlanta when the Braves did their deal, behind closed doors in like 3 months. And it's turned out to be a tremendously profitable deal for Cobb County. And despite what you might read in the Atlanta Journal and Constipation, did I get that right? Journal and Constipation. It's been enormously profitable for the cities, for Cobb County schools and the Braves and the fan base. The fan base love. We don't even talk about what's best for the fan base. 80% of the fans want it in Tampa, right? And that should matter. That should matter. That's my big thing here. Is what I'm doing. I don't dislike St. Pete. I love St. Pete, and I want what's best for St. Pete in any baseball stadium. But I also want what's great for baseball. And for baseball to thrive in Tampa Bay, it needs to be in the middle of the market, in a positive place where all of these things that we're talking about in the Tampa deal, by the way, is a long-term deal. It's a true public-private partnership where both sides get something out of it. This is an extremely one-sided deal, as you have pointed out. Yeah. So that's where so much of this is, I think, bad. And politically moving forward, Tom, we now have, this is why your information is so important. The city of St. Pete, the city council, the county commission has to approve all this money. So this is far from done. How, as we move forward, how does this information that you've put out there, your website, and tell me about the League of Women Voters survey that they did and how this affects the whole dynamic politically?
Well, that's part of the reason I think that we are getting some momentum, and the city council members are readily taking meetings with us, and I think a lot of them are showing us this is because you can document now that just the degree to which this is unpopular with the voters. There is, like this. This just happened last week. Actually, the League of Women Voters did a pretty heavy survey of. I think they sent out. They got 800 responses. They sent out a survey to the 39,000 voters that they had email addresses for. They got 800 responses, and there were a handful of questions about the Rays-Hines deal. And on virtually every question, the opposition was in the range of 80% to 20% opposed to 20% for it. That
80%.
Yeah, and that never, think about that. There's no issue. What other issue on the landscape today do 80% of the voters agree on? Like nothing.
None.
So that's the sort of thing I think that's going to strike a chord with, with some of the people that are in elected office today. That's impossible to ignore. There cannot be a more clear signal as to what people simply, are thinking and what their preferences are on this issue. So Tim, I think that really helps.
Tim, do you have any questions? My partner here, Tim, lives in Dallas and has been covering sports forever. They build stadiums like they're building parking lots over there. We can't seem to get one done. They've built like 7 baseball stadiums. Tim, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, the whole time I'm sitting there thinking about this is location, right? So Dallas Fort Worth is a big metropolitan area, obviously, right? So our major market teams built right in between Dallas and Fort Worth in a suburb named Arlington, which is also where our local international airport is. Everything is right in between Dallas and Fort Worth. When the Texas Rangers moved here from Washington in 1972, that's where the first stadium went, even though it was, much different time back then. And they've stayed there. We've now built 2 baseball stadiums in 30 years.
Yeah.
And we still have both of them. They're right next door to each other. They just repurposed, the old one, but it just seems like an obvious thing to most outsiders looking in that location, if you're going to draw the fans, and it's for that to be happening in Tampa the way it's happening. And, first of all, it started with the Trop being a wreck to begin with, I think back in 1990 or whenever when it opened with no team and really no purpose for it.
Right.
But now you guys are still kind of suffering through where it is and the struggles of that. But it just shows the greediness, I think, of the ownership group to say this is what is best for us and this is what's best for Tampa, to put it, and I love the way Tom put it, at the bottom of a peninsula, the southernmost point of our region, that's locked by just bridges that are hard to get across. And, it's like, it just seems so obvious to the rest of the country what's going on. And I feel really bad, man, for Rays fans and for everybody over there that's having to deal with this, because it just seems like it's a mess. And
well, Tim, it sounds like the lesson from the Dallas-Fort Worth area is, and this is like, it shows how maybe naive and idealistic or we are, but it's, part of the problem is, greed at the government level. You got somebody, trying to hog. Tampa Bay is only going to ever have one Major League Baseball franchise.
Sure, that's right.
That's just the way it is. And to try to hog that to one distant corner of the market, it just doesn't seem like the right thing to do from a public policy standpoint. And it sounds like what happened I don't know Dallas-Fort Worth, in detail, but it sounds like at least there was a little bit of like altruism there, where people in like the leaders in Dallas and Fort Worth figured out, hey, maybe we could hog this to one side or the other of the market, but the right thing to do
put it in the middle
is to optimize fan access to this team and to put it in the middle. And it's
in Dallas.
Also,
excuse me, Tom, in Dallas, do you guys have a conglomerate that takes all? I think it's 11 counties. I'm not sure what your metro area is, but did that they all put in for the stadium, or is it just the city of Arlington? How does that work?
City of Arlington.
They just do it. Wow.
It was all the city, and and the Cowboys now, who played in obviously downtown Dallas and Fair Park whenever they started, and then moved in '71 to a suburb, Irving, but still very close to Dallas. In 2009, when Jerry Jones built the new Cowboy Stadium, guess what? He put it in Arlington because he realizes, hey, look, there's 11 million people around here. Let's put it in the middle.
Yeah.
Let's draw from everybody.
Jeez,
so
what a concept! What a concept! Because fish don't buy tickets. I found out. The dolphins, and they don't buy season tickets. So if you surround a stadium by water, not going to help your attendance any. One other thing I wanted to say, Tom, is. And I was bringing up the Atlanta example because what they did was they did a big, survey and said all our fans are in the northern part of Atlanta. Why don't we move the stadium where our fans are? That might be a good idea. And then the public-private partnership, which was great. And the mayor of Atlanta, unlike Mayor Welch, said, look, to the Braves, like, I don't have $500 million to give because I've got to give some money to the Falcons over here downtown. So if you guys want to build your own stadium in Cobb County and let them handle it, all good, man. Yeah, but it's still in Atlanta for the metro area. Braves fans can still go. That works for me. And here we have, and I don't want to pick on Mayor Welch, but where we have a mayor and a government body that's like, no, we got to hold on to this at all costs, even if it's it's a terrible deal for us. For what reason? Your constituents can still cross the bridge, or maybe not even cross the bridge, and go to a better location. What are we doing here?
Well,
Is it
I think
about ego?
Yeah, well, I think it's fear. It's fear that you don't want to be the mayor that the mayor that lost the Rays, or that lost.
Well, that
baseball.
didn't happen in Atlanta. Everybody, good job, Kareem Jackson. Smart. That was right.
I mean, maybe there's a good lesson in there for for the St. Pete government. The other lesson from Atlanta is that. Turner Field was nothing wrong with that facility.
Perfectly fine.
But Turner Field, I think, showed you that baseball, again, just by its nature, it is not a high job creation, it doesn't spin off a lot of economic activity. You look at stadiums like Turner Field, really did nothing to sustain economic health in Atlanta. That part of Atlanta is suffering. I think it wasn't in great shape before.
Right.
And the stadium did nothing to help it. Nothing. Certainly like Camden Yards is doing nothing to help with, Baltimore is a disaster now. Camden Yards is doing nothing to help it. Comiskey Park, I'm from Chicago. Comiskey Park has never, had anywhere near the impact needed to help, the south side of Chicago economically. It's just not in the nature of the beast that baseball is just not. It just doesn't create.
Well,
a lot of
I would argue
activity.
the National Stadium I think did a great job. I think the Houston Stadium did a great job. The Denver Stadium did a great job. St. Louis. I think there have been instances, but these particular places, they did it in the right way, and the public-private partnership was really, really well done. It was areas that weren't, giving off any real estate taxes. That the Lodell area in Denver was completely blighted, and now it's one of the hottest real estate markets with Coors Field. So I think there's ways to do it the right way. But everything is specific and individual, and that in those areas they were never going to be hot real estate markets like St. Pete. They were never. Nobody said where the national park is, oh, one day we're going to make this a real trendy. That was never happening. But in St. Pete, it is. So it's a totally different deal, and I think that matters. I think that matters tremendously when you're looking at and comparing different sites. So I think baseball can do that. But in this particular case, it doesn't make any sense financially and for baseball. But those are, and all those places that I just talked about, they put the stadium in accessible areas. Like in Denver, you've got 3 or 4 different interstates coming in there. It's easy in, easy out. Same thing to some of these others. Not the case in St. Petersburg. It's a failed location, and you're putting good money after bad money. And it's just, that's why it's a disaster. So
that's another part of the issue here is that St. Pete is not a big city, doesn't have a ton of money, but they're sitting on 86 acres,
a gold mine.
That is an absolute gold mine. So what do you first rule of wealth, of holding wealth. I'm an old banker.
That's what you do.
Yeah, is you don't bet the whole thing on one stock or on one little company or something, which is what St. Pete is doing. They're taking this whole windfall, and they're betting the whole thing on one baseball centric development concept, and that is that flunks investing 101 for sure.
That's a great point. That's a great point to leave it there, Tom. They're flunking investment 101. And I think the big message, and nohomerun.com is the website, is we can do better. We all love baseball. We want to keep baseball. This is not the deal for us. This is a deal for Stu Sternberg and his partners. And that's, he doesn't have any partners anymore. They sued him. And that's another thing, Tom. If you're going to do a deal this big, like the biggest deal in history of Pinellas and St. Pete County, do you want to enter in with a guy who's being sued by his partners? Then the way that lawsuit looks and what he's done to his partners allegedly, you want to do the biggest deal in your history with a guy with that track record, and also who has literally told you to your face, you're ugly and we don't want you. Oh, and then you literally said that to St. Pete. You're ugly. We don't want you. It'll never work here. And then you shower him with cash. And now he says, oh, wait a minute. You're hot now, honey. You look really good. You look really good in that $2.4 billion dress. Come on. What are we doing here?
Yeah, I don't know Stu Sternberg, but I do like your metaphor there. That's
exactly. But investment 101, know who you're dealing with, right? Know who you're getting in bed with.
Yeah.
No, that might be important to know as well.
Yep.
All right, Tom, listen, anything you would like to tell the audience as far as where they can find you guys, what they can do, take the survey. I think you guys got a petition on the website as well.
Yeah, sure. It's only a few clicks to participate and, make your voice heard. And actually, JP, it's some of the hardest people to reach for us are really the real hardcore baseball, baseball enthusiasts, baseball at all costs type people. That's why I'm real grateful to be on your show, because I think your show probably has some of those folks in the audience.
Yeah, we do.
I would just ask those people to be open-minded about this and really know that we still support baseball with a lot of enthusiasm, but this is just the wrong redevelopment concept for the city. It's the wrong solution for baseball long term when you look at the interests of the whole market area, and obviously it's a very, very troubling economic deal. So we really ask them to look at these issues, and if they agree with us, to raise their hand, respond to
sign
one
the
of
petition.
the sign the petition, or better yet, tell your councilman to oppose this.
Do what Brian Ald and Stu Sternberg asked you to do. Contact your city councilman.
Yeah.
No, they just want you to do it if you support the deal.
Yeah.
But we're telling you, whether you support it or don't, let them know what you feel, because 80% of you, we know, don't like the deal. So make sure you let your councilman know how you feel about the deal. Thanks, Tom. Appreciate it.
Good. All right, guys.